And so, my loves, we are live. I cannot tell you how amazing moments like this are, no matter how many we have. I am joined today with the newest author on the planet, Sarah Grady, author of Homecoming. Welcome, my love.
Thank you.
So these podcasts are always supporting women in the journey, celebrating women on the path. Now you are a published author officially as of this morning. Your book in ebook form, paperback form is on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, and every flipping place books are sold. How does that feel?
It's pretty surreal still. I'm a little bit like, what? I on the eve of this book coming out in paperback form, I went for a walk last night. So I live in Savannah, Georgia, and I talk about Savannah a lot in my book because she, and I refer to her as a she, has been such a mystical muse. She is actually the place that I started writing the book and completed writing the book. And in the course of starting this writing, I moved here. So I have a whole love affair with the city of Savannah. But all that to be said, last night, I just got this intuitive hit to just go for a walk at sunset. And it was so quiet and still. There were warm breezes, and like the Spanish moss was just swaying from side to side on all the oak trees. And there was no traffic. So I decided to stand in the middle of the road and just like smell the jasmine and the magnolia and feel the warm breeze and like take the moment in. It's like the moment before the woman does her final push to birth her baby, right? And everything was so still and so beautiful. And I just heard, and what do you want to create now? Right? I literally can create anything I want to. And the process of writing this book and being transformed by it in the process is like proof of that. It's got to be what it feels like for a runner to like complete their first marathon and to know like I did that and now I can do it again and again and again and again. So I'm still in those very early stages of like, holy shit, this is real, and I have this beautiful opportunity to do with it whatever my heart desires. Yeah.
You and I had a conversation a couple of days ago, and we were in all the feels, but you did ask, like, what should I be doing now? Like, what are the things? And the thing I suggested and asked of you is something I wish I had done on the day my first book came out, which is encapsulate the moment, write a letter for a year from now, capture the moment. And what you just shared here in this way, I want us to come back a year from today and remember this moment, because this is, and we talk about this a lot. You and I have spent a fair bit of time together in the last 9 months, but we talk about a book like a baby. And this moment for so many people who haven't gotten here feels like the end.
Yeah.
And this end is the beginning, as you were describing. It's what seed is being planted here that will grow into a massive oak tree that will someday have its own Spanish moss dangling from it, right?
Yes.
So you and I know your book intimately at this point. For people who are just tuning in, hearing of you and your book for the first time, what's a nugget? What's the call? That's who needs this book? Where are they going to be after they've read a bit? Pull those women in.
Mm-hmm. So the full title of my book is called Homecoming, a feminine GPS for a lost world. So in essence, this book is for anyone. Although I originally wrote this for women, it's literally for anyone who needs a GPS, a compass, an internal scaffold to hold on to when life is blowing up. You're on a threshold moment and you're standing in the face of everything going, holy shit, maybe it's time for me to leave that job or that toxic partner or move across country or take a leap of faith that I just, there's something calling in me that I can no longer ignore. And I've created in this book a 7-step process for how to ride those waves from the inside out, so that no matter what is happening in the world, whether it's a change that you're personally initiating or one that has been initiated for you that you are now responding to, there are what I call the 7 sacraments of the goddess. Each sacrament is a very, very simple principle and practice to help ground you back into your body, back into the present moment, so that you, dear reader, can know how to respond in the most authentic way to you. And so I'll just personally say that I received this body of work, these 7 sacraments, during a massive threshold moment of my life when I was completely burnt out. I was a child and family therapist working in community mental health in San Francisco. I was losing my hair. I was having fibrocystic breast lumps, eczema all over my body. I was in a failing relationship. I joke in my book, I went from being a vegetarian lesbian living on the West Coast to a meat-eating doula on the East Coast, eating meat in all the ways. Just having these radical shifts to get myself back into alignment. And it wasn't from a place of like, oh, I think something's wrong and I need to get back to center. It was, danger, Will Robbins, we have a problem. Red light, sirens going off in my physical body going, something's not right here. And in this fast-paced culture that we live in, especially in the West, we're taught to override those internal signals. Particularly as women, we're taught to push through what our body is telling us and to just suck it up and be a good girl and play the rules and be nice. And this book is about dismantling all of that and going, the age of the good girl's fucking over. Okay, great, thanks. And this is the era of the real woman, the sovereign woman who chooses again and again and again every moment of every day. And, you know, at the beginning of my book, I talk a lot about the word choice and what my personal definition of women's liberation is, which is about women waking up to the remembering that we have choice. That's it. We wake up to the remembering that we have it, and then we choose it. And then we walk away from the people, places, and things that would dare to say, no, you don't have choice. And so sometimes things happen to us, you know, we don't choose the traumas that get inflicted upon us or the tragedies, right? That's not the choice I'm talking about, but the choice of how we rise in response to that again and again and again. And so, you know, in this book, I share a lot of my own personal stories of what I talk about as like the choice of no choice, of leaving partners, of leaving jobs, of leaving, you know, cities that I lived in, situations that were gravely unsustainable for me, and taking a very sacred, sensual, and sovereign path back home so that I was consciously choosing to create a life that actually feels good. So that the woman that I was last night, walking in the middle of the street with the Spanish moss swaying, smelling the jasmine and the magnolia, is a woman who feels good in her life. I feel good in my life, and my life's not perfect, but I feel really fucking good about who I am and where I am and what I'm doing.
I'm not even going to rush into anything from there but it's so important that we sit in that and we sit with that. that it's not just a, stop on the highway, saw it blaze by you, but that it's, again, it's been really fascinating for me as your publisher and a woman accompanying you on this journey to watch you go through this process of writing, of publishing, of riding the waves of the process itself. And then your life, the publishing process has its own waves, and then your life around you. And what's really struck me is how, and it's no surprise, but it's such a, and relief is not the right word either, but just such a pleasure to watch you practice these principles. The 7 sacraments are playing out through you all the time. And so I've been learning them by watching you and by helping getting your book across this first of its many finish lines, right? So we talk about, Red Thread, we talk about sharing our message and bringing our gifts to the world. And the book being one of the containers, and a really powerful container with which you can share this gift with the world, right? It is now out. Anyone on the planet can access it and access the incredible learning and growth that you've made so much effort to put into this container for us. But there's more. Tell us about more.
Yes. Well, I'll just share that my book is really like 3 books in one. So I give the transmissions that are kind of like divine feminine Bible verses, like for each of these sacraments, right? So there's teachings, and you could just receive the teachings. But then with each sacrament comes a workbook or a guidebook section for practicing the sacraments in real time. And then there's my personal stories that weave throughout. And so for me, the whole reason I even wrote this book is for the practice. My original vision before I started writing was to open up my own women's liberation center, a physical place where women could come and practice these tenets in real time. And then the pandemic hit. And so I was like, well, what would I give women in place of a physical place they could gather? And someday that may still happen. But I realized that the book would be even more powerful than having a physical place, because the book can go wherever any reader needs to be. And I can reach more people across the globe in that way. And so what I've done is wrote the book and simultaneously launched an online women's center. So for the whole first year of writing this book, I was teaching this homecoming journey once a season. It was an 8-week process. And now I've deepened that process into a 12-session or 3-month immersion called Sacred, Sensual, Sovereign. Because sacred, sensual, sovereign are the principles, the 3 core principles involved in the homecoming journey. So every sacrament orients around coming back to yourself in a sacred way, in a sensual way, and in a sovereign way. And then we apply these principles to our relationships with other people, and then we apply them to the earth, the mama, the thing that we all come from. So my next Sacred, Sensual, Sovereign immersion starts July 13th. And it's going to be every Wednesday night at 6:30 p.m. You can join live on Zoom. You can drop into the sessions that you want to. You can just watch the recordings. Lots of ways to join me. But the main thing to note about it is that it's all about embodiment. So I'll talk about each of these sacraments, and then we get to practice. We get to practice each and every single one of them, and also create a personalized homecoming roadmap basically for each person who attends. So there'll be some in the moment live coaching and lots of beautiful resources. And of course, everybody gets a copy of the book. So it's really a companion course to the book where you can like totally nerd out and hold it and like write and take all your notes and like kiss it with your red lipstick and cry and be like, oh my God, I'm doing it right. And then I'm holding you like right there in the moment every Wednesday night from July all the way to September. And then, of course, here locally in Savannah, teaching classes and workshops and retreats out on Tybee Island. Lots of other ways to physically join me down the road in the fall and early winter. But for right now, ordering a copy of the book and joining me starting July 13th for Sacred Sensual Sovereign is the best way to, get to practice all of this in real time.
Well, and I love what's happening in my brain is that this, a physical space, a liberation center exists just in a completely different way than maybe you thought it would to begin with, right? It's existing in every person, every soul that is practicing the practice. And one of the things I appreciate so much about what you're bringing forth is, again, this reminder. There is no done. This is not a checkbox. Did it, read it, good, right? There's so many strong stories of straight line, right? Next, straight line, next. And there's no done. There's the practicing, there's the being in the sacraments, there's the embodiment. I wasn't going to draw attention to it, but when you described last night, right, it was so sensual. The sights, the sounds, the touches. I could hear the Spanish moss in the quiet, traffic-free breeze, and we're doing a book about cultivating safe space, and this is, you can't be at home in a relationship or a building or a job or your body if you're not here with yourself, right? Having that ongoing relationship. Again, it's not a check, sorted it out, done.
No. I mean, personally, I practice the sacraments every day. And I know you spoke to that in the publishing journey. And that's the only way I got through the publishing journey, was to be like, okay, sacrament 1, slow down, take a breath, honor the body. Like I would run them through my system every day. And that kept me as grounded as possible during a very potentially ungrounding experience, right? Because birth is unpredictable.
Unschedulely unpredictable, guaranteed to be, right? Right on schedule, a total mystery.
Yeah. Well, and then that leads me into the sacraments themselves, right? So sacrament 1 is slow down, slow way down. And that creates the foundation for an inner sense of safety, like you were just speaking about, and all the other things that can then come once a human body's nervous system and heart and soul feel safe in the world. And then we go through the other sacraments, and I'll just name them real quickly. Sacrament 2 is honor your body as a temple. Because holy moly, what if we honored our bodies and other people honored our bodies? Sacrament 3 is no apologies. Can you imagine a world where women didn't apologize for themselves all the time? Then we move up into sacrament 4, which is heart compass. Sacrament 5 at our throat center is gather your people, because Lord knows we're not supposed to do any of this alone. And that's a myth of patriarchy, right? That like, be this fierce, independent woman, don't have any needs. And then we move up to the 6th sacrament, which is above all else, trust yourself, right? Trust, you've done the work that happens when you start at the root and slow down and go all the way up. But the 7th sacrament, which is connected to our 7th chakra, is embrace the mystery. Right? So like, we can do all the freaking work in the world, all of it. And there's still this thing that is so much larger than any of us, called the mystery, that void space. And what I talk about in the book is that to truly, truly embrace the mystery, it's a complete mindset shift. And it's a shift out of scarcity and into abundance. In other words, we can trust that we've done all the work that we can do, and then we lean back into the awareness that everything is conspiring upon our behalf for the better, you know, and that anything that doesn't go as planned is because something better is planned. And we may not know the answer to that or the wisdom of that until months or years down the road, but we always know it. And I'll just share a real quick anecdote about that, which is I received a phone call on Tuesday morning from an ex-lover of mine, somebody that I never imagined I would really hear from again, to congratulate me on the birth of this book. And I hung up the phone and I kind of laughed, and that would have been enough. And then it dawned on me to call him back and ask, because he's a musician and he's birthed many albums and understands the process of creative birth deeply. And I was like, hey, what do you do on the other side? Like, what do you, right? Because this is my first baby, but you've birthed like 6 babies. So like, can you tell me like, what's your advice on this? And the first thing he said was, Sarah, let go. Let go. It's not about you anymore. Right? Everybody is going to get to have their own experience. Each reader will now author their version of this book in the way that they need to. And to just let go. And that letting go really is the quality of embrace the mystery. And I just so appreciated that it was a man that like shared that with me, and that throughout all of these years of us kind of coming and going in each other's lives, the greatest mystery of all, which is love, is the thing that still connected us.
You bring up something that for anyone who's listening with future author aspirations, it is everything that you're speaking about. It's a co-creation process, right? We hear what's offered in our own context. And so everything that you just described, I'm hearing through the publishing process, and because that's my lens, right? And once you give it your all and you let it go, then it lands with people. Every book then becomes a co-creation process between you and the reader, because they're receiving exactly what it is that they're looking for, that they're needing. They're resonating and vibrating with what you've put out there. And it's alive. This is why we talk about a book like a baby, because now it's alive and it's going to go live a million lives, right? And it's the coolest thing. And all births come with tears and some screams and some, I don't think I can do this. And then, ta-da!
Magically a baby comes out.
Right?
Yeah.
And we can sort of smile and chuckle about it on the other side. So you and I will always speak forever. And in this moment, we probably could. But I want to create that container again for us and keep this short to leave people wanting more. What, if anything else, would you like to say in this moment, the day that your book baby comes into the world? I've already ordered my paperback copy. I'm a double dipper, right? So I, of course, pre-ordered the book because that's how I roll. And here it is on my phone, right? But I ordered the paperback copy too because I'm old school and I like to have it in my hands, and I'm going to write on those journal pages. For people who are listening, is there anything else bubbling from you that you want to share in this moment about who you are, the process of becoming an author, the gifts that reside in this book, anything.
Well, it's really interesting as you ask that question, like who you are. And what I internally heard was, I'm just a real fucking woman. You know, I'm just a real woman, like every other woman who's tried to figure out how to live their lives. And, I went from being a really high achiever and doing everything right and graduating university early and getting a master's degree and having this high powered title of therapist and like all of these things. And none of it felt right. And I chose to burn it down, to go on the quest of knowing what could feel right. Like I knew that I was worthy of that. I looked around at so many people. I was like, you're just living your lives for the weekend. You're working these heinous 9-to-5 jobs that make you so unhappy. And just, I could just see the whole matrix of everything that we've been told to want. And I decided to not want that anymore and to want more for myself. And it has not been easy. Let me tell you, there have been so many moments on my hands and my knees where I had no idea how I'd pay the rent, where I was like, how did I get myself into this situation yet again with romantic relationships or like whatever. And I write about a lot of that in the book. To say I'm not perfect and I haven't figured everything out, but what I know to be true in my bones is that I'm alive. Like I truly live my life every single moment and no one can take that away from me. And as a result of fully living and practicing these sacraments every day to help me stay aligned in that living process, I'm happy. Like I'm happy. Like people go on all of these like giant quests and will travel to Bali for expensive retreats and like whatever to try to find that thing. And I have it. And my prayer to myself is to keep choosing it every day, even when it's hard to make that choice. And my prayers is for all women everywhere to feel what I feel inside, to get to stand in the middle of the road like I did last night and be able to look at their lives through the lens that I do, which is one of profound gratitude for the very simple, sacred things. And I guess the biggest thing is I know that life will keep getting louder for all of us when something's out of alignment, right? It starts with a subtle whisper and then it starts to knock and then the door falls out and then the whole fucking house will blow down, right? And so may my stories and may my book be a permission slip to not have to wait until the whole house blows away for each woman or man or whoever reads this book to follow the subtle whispers when they start to come. Because what's on the other side of that, y'all, is so fucking good. It's so good. And it's so worth it.
And that's where we're going to leave it because I can't imagine any better place. As a publisher, I want to teach listeners how you can keep the ripple moving forward. You read Sarah's book. You leave a review. You follow the story. She's great on Instagram. She's out there in the world, in that we have these relationships with each other. And we can nurture that connection in the simplest and subtlest of ways, so that the bond between the author and the reader is strong and vibrant, right? I think so many readers think that authors are inaccessible. And right, we're just here.
Yeah.
Right? We're just people. We're just here. And a single message from a reader means the world to an author for months.
Truly.
Right? It's like a drop of water in the desert. And readers don't see themselves as having that gift to then share back. So I want to cultivate a space where that community, that energetic thread that you've been following in the whole process of writing your book is maintained, and that community is built, right? In energetic ways, in subtle ways, in tangible ways. So I'm not the first. I want to be one of the people to congratulate you, Sarah Grady, on the birth of a beautiful, beautiful gift to the world.
Thank you, Sarah.
It has been my honor to stand beside you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.